Hey everybody, what you're about to watch is a clip from an episode of the Weekly Manga Podcast, which you can watch in full on this channel. This is full spoilers for the DANDADAN manga through chapter 163, and is my wild theory on what exactly the DANDADAN is. Thanks for watching, and I hope you check out some more of the Weekly Manga Podcast. Enjoy. Alright, let's get into it. He says, this is the very end of the chapter, he says, "Oh, one other thing. If I had to choose, this is the one thing that's most important to me." And he says, "Are you familiar with Dandadan?" I gotta say, turning this page, flipping this page and seeing this is like, wait a minute, a Dandadan title drop. This blows my mind. I thought this was Dandadan was like just nonsense word, right? Like,
yeah,
rah 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 or whatever, right? Like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter. This page visually is also striking and amazing. Yeah, how did you feel about Dandadan title drop?
Well, I have no idea.
Cool.
I don't even know what that means. But do you think these, like, of course, these Buddhist patterns, do you think the Buddhist patterns here, is that what's on his coat?
On
Like,
Count Saint Germain's coat, or
yeah. Go back a few. You see those.
I
You
see
see the
what.
shoulders.
Yeah, maybe.
I
Could
can't
just be
tell.
fancy.
It could just be a fancy lad. Who knows?
Yeah, there is. Okay, so I did a little bit of research here. So buckle your fucking seatbelts. I have a page and a half of notes talking about. Here it is. This is what I think. What is the Dandadan? We're going to start with the imagery here, right? The imagery here is Buddhist imagery, and there are nine. There are 9 circles. There are 8 circles on the outside, 1 on the inside. A pretty quick Googling here brought me to the Buddhist ideal of 9 consciousnesses. And this is included in most versions of Buddhism. Some of them only have 8, some of them 9. The idea of these consciousnesses is that there's 5 senses. Your 5 main senses is part of your consciousness. The 6th is the idea of understanding. So you are holding an orange. This sort of understanding from your 5 senses. So I'm holding an orange, I can smell it, I can see it, I know that this is an orange and not just an orange ball, because my 5 senses are telling me more, and my 6th sense, quote unquote, is understanding it. The 7th sense is sort of abstract thinking, things you can think of without using the senses. And then we get into the 2 interesting ones, which are the 8th and the 9th. So in these 9 consciousnesses, the 8th is, and this is sort of copied from Wikipedia, the 8th is your storehouse of consciousness or karma. So straight from Wiki, the 8th consciousness accumulates all of one's karmic energy throughout interacting with others, as well as the causes and effects of one's actions. It stores all of one's thoughts, words, and deeds throughout a lifetime. The 8th is said to persist after death. So the 8th is a kind of the idea of karma, right? Your thoughts and actions inform this power. Something interesting here that I think we're trying to connect this all back to what we know and what we've read of 163 chapters of Dandadan. So causes and effects of one's actions, karmic energy through interacting with others. Something we've noted about Dandadan is the sort of ever-growing cast of characters, how there's sort of continually more and more people who are helped out by our main cast, and things like that. So I think that idea ties into that kind of loosely, but it seems to fit for me. And the most interesting one, I would say, is the 9th and final consciousness. This is sort of the final enlightenment consciousness. Buddha's nature is sometimes it's called. The purest consciousness cannot be tarnished by any of the karmic energy from the previous 8 levels. It is a way of ridding oneself of negative karma by rising above to the 9th consciousness. I underlined ridding oneself of negative karma. I think that's something we have seen a couple of times happen in Dandadan. We saw the yokai who stalks Momo. She sort of rids herself of negative karma, quote unquote, and becomes like a good version of a bad thing. The same thing happens with the dancer yokai and the second girl of the group. The same thing happens, I kind of think, with Gigi's demon. This I think kind of cohesively fits in. That line stood out to me, the line of ridding oneself of negative karma, because that's something I think we see in Dandadan like pretty often. Yeah, dancer spirit, karaoke spirit, umbrella spirit, all of those had that. So yeah, that's are you with me so far, Gautam?
Not really, but I keep going.
Okay, these are some pictures that people pulled up. This is a shield of a guy from the storybook arc that we just went through. You'll notice his shield has, again, nine circles. Here's a little bit better picture of it. You will notice here that there are sort of 5 on the outside and then 4 connected inner. That would be your 5 senses and your 4 sort of internal karmic thought consciousnesses, you could say. I think that they're split that way intentionally. I think that this reinforces the idea that the 9 consciousnesses have something to do with this. Okay, and that introduces us to the idea that, okay, if you're with me here, you are agreeing that Japanese Buddhism has something to do with Dandadan. So, I started clicking on Wikipedia articles and started control-Fing Dan and DA and just saw what came up. And I found a couple of interesting things. The first thing basically led me to the idea of Japanese Buddhism, which is called Nichiren Buddhism. That's named after a dude. There's a Buddhist priest called Nichiren. He was in like the 12 or 1300s. Not super important there. From Nichiren Buddhism, I found something called the Danka system. D-A-N, Danka system. During the Edo period, during the time that Nichiren Buddhism was around and growing, temples were subsumed into the shogunate's Danka system, which is a sort of a nationwide parasystem designed to ensure religious peace, blah, 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 and root up. It's very anti-Christian. In this system, Buddhist temples and their ceremonial duties were forced to carry out state administrative functions, blah, blah, blah. Not super important there. Just, this is the one that I'm sort of least sure of, but it led me to all the others, so I have a feeling that it might be important. The Danka system, which is essentially Buddhist rule, not rule, but Buddhist state rule, I guess you could say. That's an extreme simplification of it. Anyone who knows the history of Japan, but we're going to go with it. That led me to the idea of Gohonzon. And the reason we need to talk about Gohonzon is this is a term for a venerated religious object in Japanese Buddhism. I think we see a couple of these in Dandadan, these Gohonzon. And I'm wondering if anyone knows the official word verbiage or reads this in Japanese and maybe watches the show, maybe they can let me know in the comments. Is this a word that we've ever seen used in Dandadan? Because I feel like it's possible we have. It's, again, this is just a religious object in Japanese Buddhism. It may take the form of a scroll or statuary, a statue. The term Gohonzon typically refers, I'm reading straight from Wiki here, to the mainstream use of venerated objects within Nichiren Buddhism, referring to the calligraphic, that's a hard word, the calligraphic paper mandala inscribed by the 13th Japanese Buddhist priest Nichiren, which, as we established earlier, Nichiren Buddhism is Japanese Buddhism. That's sort of, it was essentially founded by him. So now we have our middle da. We have a mandala. Because we are shown that in Nichiren Buddhism, the guy who founded Nichiren Buddhism, so Japanese Buddhism, I might just call it that because it's easier. The guy who founded Japanese Buddhism is well known to have had a sort of a holy scroll with a mandala on it, right? So, Danka system, Japanese Buddhism, the man Nichiren founded it. He has a mandala on a scroll that is associated with him. Now we have Dan-da. So again, the mandala is sort of a geometric configuration of symbols. I'm zooming in, geometric configuration of symbols. Where did I go? In various spiritual traditions, may be employed for focusing attention of practitioners and adepts, spiritual guidance tool, blah, blah, blah. In Eastern religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shintoism, right? Buddhism and Shintoism are Japanese religions. Is used as a map representing deities, or especially in the case of Shinto paradises or actual shrines. So, again, what we're looking at on this page in Dandadan are essentially mandala, right? I had to do this in one of my psychology classes in college. They are usually circular, not always circular. They're usually circular and kind of patterned, sometimes partially symmetrical, but not fully symmetrical. What is on this page is a mandala. I think this is a lock. I'm going to be real. I'm super confident. Quote me on it. part of the word dandadan comes from the word mandala. And I'm going to say that that's the middle da, because the other thing I have here is Dan. So, are you with me, Gautam? Shintoism?
No, I'm so far not with you. Like, this has been imparsible.
Nice.
I haven't followed most. I'm trying, though. I'm trying.
Okay, that's good. There's only one more thing, and we're almost done. So after mandala, I had to find another Dan. So the kids in Dandadan, they go. There's a shrine. There have been multiple shrines and temples and locations. They've been made. Sometimes they're important, sometimes they're not. I found the word Butsudan. Again, Butsudan, we're calling this our final Dan, is a shrine found in Japanese Buddhist temples. So this is a shrine inside the temple, used for paying respects to Buddha or dead family members or dead spirits. What are the majority of our team powered by, which we mentioned? They're powered by dead spirits. I feel kind of confident on this one. It's the first Dan that I'm not sure of. I think that mandala, the idea of a mandala, because we have them here, we've had them in this past arc, we've seen them, I want to say before this at some point, and then Butsudan, the idea of a shrine inside a Buddhist temple that holds some sort of respect to Buddha or prayer to the dead. I think that is an important thing. So essentially we have Danka system, which is Buddhist rule in Japan. We have a mandala, that's our da. We have our first Dan da, and then we have Butsudan, which is a shrine or a worship area inside the shrine of a Buddhist temple to Buddha or other dead deities. So that's our Dandadan. That's my Dandadan guess right there. Is essentially the words. Japanese wordplay does this, right? You see Japanese how to word mashups. They will take the first part of one word, the second part of another word, cut them off, put them together. People kind of understand, yes, that is the first part of carrot and the next part of whatever, right? Like Pokemon are named like this. This is how they literally name Pokemon, right? They take reptile plant and they put the two words together and it's Bulbasaur or whatever, right?
Or Pokemon meaning pocket monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, literally. There you go. That's an even better example. Yeah. Pokemon is literally pocket monsters. They take them, they bash them together. My idea, and this is partially... Yeah, my idea of Dandadan is that they're essentially just doing this 3 times. And the first one is the one I'm most unsure about. I'm not sure about the Danka system, but I do think that Danka system, mandala, and Butsudan. I think mandala and Butsudan make a lot of sense here. It all relates to Japanese Shintoism. So that's what I think Dandadan is, or Dandadan, Dandadan, whatever. And I think that what this means is that I think Count Saint Germain is going after the power of Buddha. I think which would be like an ultimate power in Nichiren Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism. So,
gotcha.
It only took 8 minutes.
That was fully imparsible.
That's fine.
But you said it. It was. I wish Charlie Kelly with the conspiracy board was up.
I wish I had a board because I literally would have written it. Maybe I'll do I need to get a dry erase board and just stand up and go through what I think it is.
I wish I was in your head so I could understand what you were saying.
Yeah. So the short of it is I went looking for Japanese Buddhist Wikipedia pages and I Control F'd Dan and DA and looked for words that related, and those are the words that I found. And I think all 3 of them connect to Dandadan. I think 2 out of 3 are really strong. I think mandala, because literally on the page where he says, "Are you familiar with Dandadan?" we are looking at Buddhist mandala, like mandalas. There's 9 of them. I think there's 9 consciousnesses. I think something is important there. That might just be reinforcing the idea that it's Buddha. I don't know. Yeah. So that's my call here, is that Count Saint Germain is asking, "Are you familiar with Dandadan?" because that is something to do with the power of Buddha, which would be like an ultimate power or potentially like a mental, I don't know, some kind of ultimate Buddha power. That's my guess.
Buddha's an alien.
It could be. We've seen Buddha in Dandadan before, right? When the chubby kid controls the shape-shifting house, he turns it into Buddha to fight.
The Gurren Lagann Buddha boss.
Yes, he turns it into Buddha to fight. So this is not the first time Buddha has appeared. I don't know. So that's my Hail Mary. That's my ADHD hyper-focused Hail Mary to get that out there. It didn't take too long, luckily. I was afraid that it was going to be like 30 minutes of me going through every detail of it. It only took about 10. So
All
Get in the
right.
comments. How do you feel about it? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Maybe
Did that make any sense to you?
I don't know.
Were you following?
Yeah, there could have been more pictures with it, but I didn't want to go through 2 pictures. But yeah, I'm fairly confident in the 9 consciousnesses, and I'm fairly confident in Mandala and Butsudan. Those seem connected. Maybe it's Buddha. Maybe the middle is, I don't know. Yeah, Tim, anything else on DANDADAN here? We can move on.
No, it's a good time. I enjoyed your ADHD fueled monologue, and I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed catching up on DANDADAN. It's always a good time.
It's super good. Even if none of this comes true, who cares? It's always surprising, and I like that about it. Thanks for watching, and be sure to leave your theories or questions on what the DANDADAN is in the comments. As always, don't forget to read more manga.